My sister said, "Be brave and give up your spot for my son." I said, "I am brave. I'm saying no." She called me selfish in our family group chat, but when my nephew quietly sent me one screenshot, the whole story flipped and everyone learned what courage actually costs. Original post: I'm Caleb, 29, and last Friday my older sister Vanessa told me I was ruining her son's future because I refused to give him the thing I had worked almost 6 years to earn. Not money, not a car, not a spare bedroom, a seat. One seat in a medical assistant program at a community college in Columbus, Ohio. I know that sounds small to some people, but it wasn't small to me. I work the 5 a.m. bakery shift at a grocery store, then do evening stocking 3 nights a week. My rent is $1,275 for a one-bedroom that still smells like the last tenant's cigarettes when it rains. My car has 184,000 miles on it. I meal prep pasta, eggs, and frozen vegetables because groceries are ridiculous now. For years, I kept saying I was going back to school. For years, I didn't. Partly because I was tired, partly because I was scared. Mostly because every time I tried to do something for myself, my family treated it like an inconvenience. Vanessa is 35. Her son Mason is 18. He's not a bad kid. He's quiet, funny, and smarter than people give him credit for. But Vanessa has always treated him like a trophy she can carry around when it makes her look good. So when I got accepted into this program, I told my family in our group chat. Mom sent clapping emojis. My younger brother Drew said, "Finally, man, proud of you." Vanessa didn't reply for 3 hours. Then she called me. No congratulations. No excitement. Just, "So, can you transfer that spot?" I laughed because I thought she was joking. She wasn't. She said Mason had applied late and got waitlisted. Apparently the program office told her the cohort was full. Vanessa said since I was older and already had a job, Mason should get the chance first. I said, "That's not how admissions works." She said, "Don't be difficult. You know what I mean. You can withdraw and reapply next year." Withdraw. Like it was a dinner reservation. I told her I wasn't doing that. That's when her voice changed. Soft at first, the voice she uses when she wants to sound like the only adult in the room. "Caleb, sometimes courage means sacrifice." I was standing in my tiny kitchen with a sink full of mugs, still wearing my grocery store apron, my acceptance email open on my laptop. And for a second I almost folded, because that's what I do. I smooth things over. I pay for birthday dinners. I pick people up from airports. I say yes before I check if I can survive the yes. Then Vanessa said, "Be brave and give up your spot for my son." Something in me just stopped. I said, "I am brave, I'm saying no." Silence. Then she said, "Wow, I didn't know you were like this." I said, "I didn't either, it's new." She hung up. 10 minutes later, the family group chat exploded. Vanessa wrote, "Caleb got into the same program Mason needs and refuses to step aside even though Mason is just starting life." I guess personal ambition matters more than family now. Mom immediately called me. I didn't answer. Drew texted privately, "What the hell is going on?" Before I could respond, Aunt Lisa jumped into the group chat with, "Family helps family." Then cousin Brianna said, "Mason is young, he has more to lose." I stared at that message for a long time. More to lose. I had already lost years. I had lost sleep, confidence, time, and pieces of myself I didn't know how to name. Then Vanessa sent the message that made my hands shake. "Caleb has always been jealous that Mason has a real future." That one hurt, not because it was true, because I knew some people would believe it. I typed and deleted 3 different responses. Angry ones, defensive ones, long ones with screenshots and dates and tuition receipts. Then Mason texted me privately, "Uncle Caleb, I'm sorry, I didn't ask her to do this." I sat down. A second message came in. "I don't even want that program." Then a screenshot. It was a text between Mason and Vanessa from 2 days earlier. "Mason, Mom, I told you I'm not sure about medical assisting." Vanessa, "You don't know what you want, I do." Mason, "I wanted to take a gap semester and work." Vanessa, absolutely not. I'm not letting you embarrass me. I read that last line 3 times. Embarrass me. Not ruin your future, not waste your potential. Embarrass me. I replied, are you okay? Mason sent. Not really. That was the first twist. The seat was never about Mason. It was about Vanessa needing a story where her son was successful and I was the obstacle. So I did something I almost never do. I answered the group chat. I wrote, I'm not withdrawing. I worked for this. I'm starting in August. Mason just told me he didn't ask for my spot, so please stop using him to pressure me. Vanessa replied instantly, do not drag my child into your selfishness. Then Mason joined the group chat. I'm not being dragged. I told Uncle Caleb the truth. Everything went quiet for maybe 40 seconds, then all hell broke loose. Update 1: Vanessa started calling Mason. He didn't answer. Then she called me 6 times. I didn't answer either. Instead, I texted Mason and asked where he was. He said he was at work, sitting in the break room at a pizza place, trying not to cry because his mom had just texted him. You humiliated me. That made my stomach drop. I asked when his shift ended. He said 1030 p.m. I had work at 5 the next morning, but I drove across town anyway. My gas light came on halfway there, because of course it did. I had $12 until payday and put 8 of it into the tank. When Mason came out, he looked exhausted. This kid is 6 feet tall and still somehow looked 12 standing under the parking lot light with his pizza uniform and backpack. He got in my car and said, I didn't mean to start drama. I said, you didn't. You told the truth. He was quiet for a minute, then he said, she already filled out housing forms for me. I thought I misheard him. What housing forms? He said Vanessa had been trying to push him into a private student apartment near campus. Rent was $950 a month with roommates. She told him financial aid would cover it. It would not. I know because I had spent months studying every cost like it was a survival map. Tuition, books, scrubs, background check, parking pass, lab fees. I had a spreadsheet. A sad color-coded spreadsheet that had seen me cry twice. I asked Mason if he had signed anything. He said, I don't know. That is not a sentence you want to hear from an 18-year-old. We went to a 24-hour diner because it was the only place open and I needed coffee. I bought him fries because it was all I could afford. He pulled up his email. There it was, a lease application. Not a lease, thank God, but an application with his information, his social security number, and Vanessa listed as emergency contact. I asked if he had submitted it. He said Vanessa did it for him while he was in the shower. I felt my chest get hot, not yelling hot, fear hot. Because this was bigger than a family guilt trip now. This was Vanessa trying to build a life for Mason without letting him touch the steering wheel. At 11:48 p.m., Vanessa texted me. Bring my son home now, I replied. He's 18. He can decide where he wants to go. She wrote, you are poisoning him against me. Mason looked at my phone and laughed once, but it wasn't a happy laugh. Then Mom called. I answered because I needed one adult in this family to act normal. Mom said, Caleb, your sister is hysterical. I said, Mason is sitting next to me. He's safe. Vanessa submitted housing paperwork without him understanding it. Mom went quiet, then she said, she did what? I repeated it. Mom's whole tone changed. She asked to speak to Mason. He took the phone and walked outside. Through the diner window, I watched him talk with one hand over his eyes. When he came back, he said, Grandma said I can stay at her place tonight. Then Vanessa posted in the family group chat again. Caleb has kidnapped my son emotionally because he can't stand seeing the next generation succeed. Drew replied, Vanessa, stop. Mason is 18. Aunt Lisa wrote, this is getting out of hand. Then Mason sent another screenshot. This one was from Vanessa to him. If you don't get into that program, people will think I failed as a mother. Drew responded, there it is. That was the second twist. The person everyone was defending had accidentally confessed in writing. Vanessa left the group chat. Then she added us all to a new one without Mason. The chat name was Adults Only. I wanted to throw my phone into my coffee. Her first message was, Mason is being manipulated and Caleb is unstable. That word. Unstable. The same word she used when Dad died and I missed Thanksgiving because I couldn't get out of bed. The same word she used when I worked 2 jobs and forgot her birthday dinner. The same word she used whenever my struggle became inconvenient. For the first time, I didn't explain myself. I just sent one message. I'm done discussing my life, my school seat, or Mason's choices without Mason present. Then I left. My hands were shaking so badly I spilled coffee on my jeans. Mason noticed. He said, "You're scared of her too." I almost denied it, then I didn't. I said, "Yeah. I am," he said, "but you still said no." I didn't have an answer, because that was the first moment I understood the topic of this whole mess. Courage doesn't feel like a movie scene. Sometimes it feels like nausea in a diner booth at midnight while your nephew eats fries and your family calls you selfish. Update 2 days later, Vanessa showed up at my apartment. Not alone. With Aunt Lisa. I had just gotten home from stocking shelves. It was raining, my socks were wet, and I was carrying one grocery bag with rice, bananas, and the cheapest chicken thighs I could find. They were waiting outside my door like a 2-person intervention. Vanessa had sunglasses on even though the hallway was dim. Aunt Lisa looked uncomfortable, which told me Vanessa had probably given her the edited version. Vanessa said, "We need to talk like adults." I said, "Adults text before coming over." Aunt Lisa sighed and said, "Caleb, please, this family is falling apart." I wanted to say this family has been duct taped together for years and everyone keeps pretending the tape is love, but I was tired. So I said, "You have 5 minutes." Vanessa started with tears, not real sobbing, controlled tears, the kind where she could still watch my face to see if they were working. She said Mason had anxiety, Mason was confused, Mason needed guidance. I had made him think quitting was brave. I said, "He doesn't want the program," she snapped. "He doesn't know what he wants." I said, "Neither did I at 18. Nobody tried to steal someone else's seat for me." Her face changed. There she was, not the crying mother, not the worried sister. The angry one. She said, "You are almost 30 and just now getting your life together. Maybe don't act like an expert." That hit exactly where she aimed. Aunt Lisa looked down. I felt that old instinct crawl up my throat. Apologize, make it smaller, laugh it off. Instead, I unlocked my door and stepped inside. Vanessa put her hand on the door. "Don't walk away from me." I looked at her hand, then at her. "Move it." She didn't. My voice was quiet when I said, "Vanessa, I am not giving you my school spot. I am not helping you force Mason into a program. And I am not letting you talk to me like I'm some failed rough draft of a person." Aunt Lisa whispered, "Vanessa, move your hand." Vanessa moved it. I closed the door. Then I sat on the floor behind it because my knees felt weird. 5 minutes later, Aunt Lisa texted me privately. I didn't know she said those things. "I'm sorry." That was new. An apology from someone older in my family usually came disguised as "you know how she is." This one didn't. Then things got messy fast. Vanessa posted on Facebook, not naming me but naming me. Some people will sabotage a young person's future just to feel important. Her church friends commented hearts. One person wrote, "Praying for your son." Drew commented, "Maybe ask your son what future he actually wants." The post disappeared within 10 minutes. Then Mason called me. He said Vanessa had taken his debit card because, in her words, "If you want adult choices, you can handle adult consequences." His paycheck from the pizza place went into that account. I asked if her name was on it. He said yes. She opened it when he was 16. I told him to meet me at the credit union near my work the next morning. I had no idea if I was doing the right thing. I am not a financial expert. I still use a budgeting app that judges me in red numbers. But I knew one thing. An 18-year-old should have access to his own paycheck. So the next morning, Mason opened a new checking account in his name only. He redirected his direct deposit. He looked terrified signing the papers. Afterward he said, "Is she going to hate me?" I said, Maybe for a while, but control isn't love. He nodded like he wanted to believe me. That afternoon, Mom called a family meeting at her house. I almost didn't go. I had homework for the prerequisite class I was taking online. I had laundry. I had every excuse, but Mason asked me to come, so I went. Vanessa was already there, sitting stiffly at the kitchen table. Mom had made coffee. Drew was leaning against the counter with his arms crossed. Mason sat beside me. For once, Vanessa didn't start strong. She started wounded. She said, "I'm his mother. I'm allowed to care." Mom said, "Caring isn't the same as controlling." Vanessa looked betrayed. Then Mason spoke. His voice shook, but he spoke. "I don't want medical assisting. You want it because you can tell people I'm in a healthcare program." Vanessa started crying again. Mason kept going. "I want to work for a semester, save money, and maybe do welding or HVAC." Uncle Caleb said he'd help me look, not decide for me. Everyone turned to me. I said I'd help him compare options. That's it. Vanessa laughed bitterly. "Of course, because you want to be the hero now." That one almost made me angry, almost, but Mason answered before I could. "He's not trying to be the hero. He's the only one who asked me what I wanted." Silence. That was the strongest twist, because all week Vanessa had made me the villain in Mason's story, but Mason didn't need a villain. He needed a witness. Final update: it's been 7 weeks since Vanessa asked me to give up my seat. I'm still enrolled. My first tuition payment is made. I bought used textbooks from a student 2 towns over for $140 cash, and one of them has coffee stains and someone's notes in the margins. I don't even care. They feel like proof. I also got my scrubs, navy blue. I tried them on in my apartment and looked in the mirror for a long time, not because I suddenly looked impressive. Honestly, I looked tired. My hair was a mess and I had a laundry basket behind me, but I looked like someone who had finally stopped asking permission. Mason is living with Mom for now. He's still working at the pizza place, and he signed up for an intro welding workshop at a trade center. He sends me pictures of metal joints like I know what I'm looking at. I don't, but I hype him up anyway. Vanessa barely speaks to me. She did send one long text last week. It started with, "I hope you're happy." Then it turned into 3 paragraphs about how nobody understands the pressure mothers face, how Mason is throwing away stability, how I embarrassed her, and how Mom and Drew only sided with me because I made her look crazy. I read it twice, then I deleted it. Not blocked, not yet, just deleted. That may not sound like courage, but for me it was, because old me would have written a courtroom-level defense. Old me would have explained my rent, my schedule, my dreams, my fear, my right to exist without being useful to everyone else. New me made dinner. Chicken thighs, rice, and hot sauce. Then I studied for 2 hours. Aunt Lisa called yesterday. She said Vanessa is telling people I turned Mason against the family. But Aunt Lisa also said something I didn't expect. She said, "I think we all got used to letting her be loud." That sentence stayed with me, because that's how it happens sometimes. The loudest person becomes the truth by default. The calm person becomes the problem because they refuse to perform pain loudly enough. I'm not perfect in this story. I avoided conflict for years. I let resentment build. I said yes when I meant no and then acted surprised when people kept asking for more. I was so afraid of being selfish that I became unreliable to myself. But saying no to Vanessa did something. It didn't fix everything. It didn't make my family suddenly healthy. It didn't turn me into some fearless person. I'm still scared. I still check the group chat and feel my stomach drop when her name pops up. I still worry I'll fail the program. I still wonder if I waited too long to start over. But I'm starting anyway. And Mason is choosing anyway. That's what courage looks like in real life, I think. Not being fearless. Just refusing to let fear make the decision every single time. So yeah, my sister told me to be brave and give up my seat. I was brave. I kept it. If this story hit close to home, comment whether you've ever had to say no to family pressure or if you think I handled it right. Like, share this with someone who needs courage, and subscribe for more stories like this.